This is HaShulchan Yardeh Simon Lamed Sif base through Hay, and this is day 158 of the Supplemental HaShulchan Yomi series. Base. V'zeh Ram because Adin said that Ram wrote this halacha of Kugol Shenech B'sa in the Din Shvura and the halachas of breakages. Then he gave a nap in the halachas of punctures. The Nesha Trevis told the Bezets and the Trevis to do with the breakage. The Kaks about Pierre Gilum Shchita, that's I wrote in the 10th paragraph of Shchita, Medina Shchita, in the laws of Shchita, Kshem Mana Shivim, laws of Shvur, laws of breakages. Kshem Shemana Shivim Trevis was a paragraph when he also mentioned 70 Trevis. In this paragraph, partly in detail, Chashav Gankim Shvur is Tamzeh, counts it among the breakages. For Raya and evidence, Shagam Ovos Chashav Dat, Vasham Medinim Elu, he also mentions birds in these halachas, even though they have to do with the puncture, it would seem, of the membrane of the brain, but right now it has to do with breakage. Also the evidence of this, that the Rambam Matur writing on this halacha, that it's even though the membrane is still intact at the moment. So it sounds so we saw that so you say the issue is the breakage of the skull of itself. Now taking into account the membrane, what it's going to do to the membrane. Michael Marshall and Abi Shokrum was telling us, even though now the membrane is still intact, sounds like it's because it will lead to eventual puncture of the membrane. You can't say this way it's coming out. Tell us precisely this point. There ain't a trephus inside a krum, that the trephus has nothing to do with the membrane. If you not even didn't write that, we would know this because he's writing about the skull, not about the membrane. Elavadai, the trephus inside a krum. So as the trephus comes on account of the membrane. So you see, so I'd say it's only the breakage of the skull in of itself is insufficient. Has to be that we see a puncture of the membrane. Otherwise, it's not a treifa. And so it's telling us that even if the membrane is not fully intact, treifa, it's still treifa. But time and the reasons Chazal are aware. They know the sofa krum eventually the membrane will get ruined. The trephus side its moment krum doesn't want to say the trephus is independent, not on account of the membrane. That is the noide bihuda. Lonira does not seem to be the case. In brackets, he says here, Vika Rayos and Vitesh involved the Ramas if severe. Yes, I'm just going to run through this because we're not going to sound without seeing tests. The Eslam Bishop Dafim Vav, ain't a connected behema. Of a mind connected shy by Ophos, Bidika Kombu, Shan Chayas, Magos, Ashwi, Simon Test, or Mordechai, Chatzer Kovich, you be covered, look at Golis, whatever that rye is in terms of the diaphragm. To be honest, astounding came in the Bishop Levi Ryan, also Abraham Smo. Can bring proof of that limit. Sev Lamalem Levi Mevacher. Why should they bring from another organ chain? Madame Chavis is we don't draw linkages from each other. Fine parallels to each other by Tafis. I know they reject this position for other reasons. Some makes it so dumb. He makes great efforts to resolve them. Out very Barim, we see how the Shema do. We say it's clear and understand that. This Travis of Nechmasol Gogolis is on account of the eventual puncture of the membrane. Kimmel. Vainly show you can't ask him what time because of the membrane. Lama, but the abasha, why by land birds? Yeshem Dika, Bakrum, you can check their membrane. The issue is going to lead to eventual puncture, whether it's making they're intact or not. No, that's not his question. He says, why can't you check if you can check the question of distinction, if you can check the land birds, then be able to check the animals. But we don't see an animal, we can check the animal. That's our question. The Bisham, Shanekav Kotamo, Kamoshi, he's bar. There, where the hole is very small, I guess, but land birds are less fragile than water birds. waterfowl. The Rishon Shnegel Mekatim Oka Moshe is bar literally baver, and the air is not getting in. Sheskahu Krum Day said that will ruin the membrane further. Chashash Ematei Shnegel Bar Krum. There's a concern that right now there's a puncture in the membrane. Shapam Mobadika. There is an effective way of checking Moshe's bar, which will become clarified. Abayim, but when animal rotates rova etzem. When most of the bone has been become shattered, I guess is the right term. Or it's missing the size of a stellar coin. Vadis kachokrum there, the membrane will definitely get ruined. Even though now it's whole, it's a different scenario. Therefore, there is no checking that. That's why I was saying, even though the membrane is intact now, eventually it's going to get ruined. So therefore, now it's no good as is. The aviation, some say the trefa of chavisa gogolis, this trefa of nechbasol gogolis, which even translates concussion. I don't know if it's actually concussion. It sounds like it's more than that. It sounds like there's actually some significant shattering taking place. So I'm just going to keep translating. It's chavisa. It's not a translation, but whatever it means. Shava ovla behema. In this respect, a bird is similar to an animal, as we've been saying. I just looked at the HaShulchan, and I think concussed is actually the best translation and I can give, because he said the translation which is given here is it's hard to show a picture because he just shows pictures of drawings of the head and where it's what's considered to be part and parcel of the brain. But he says that Tvua Shor says Shuksa Makos Rabos Velo Nifchasa Velo Niki Vakrum. It's been beaten a lot of times, but it's not been cracked, and the membrane has not been punctured, and the nisrotitza is considered close to breakage, but it's not yet broken. Okay, so nisrotitza over here again, it's some sort of less than breakage, not shattering, some sort of damage, which is like a concussion. I think that remains the primary translation. Okay, so I think we'll stick with that. So Yeshua, let's the dollar again. Yeshua, some say typhus of chabis could go shovel over the hema. Some say that the typhus of this concussed skull is similar by both a bird and an animal. It's pretty chodesh, crazy placing. Va'afagav the nifscha ain't no shoving in terms of actual breakage. They're not the same, which is what we're going to see. In terms of concussion, the majority of the skull has to be concussed. Okay, and it says in the brackets, near the shachar, same thing. Near the dafka over the abosha, there's only about landfowl. I've opened the mine, but waterfowl, kavazos like geese, baravazos, and some sort of a different type of geese. The Kuman Rach says that their membrane is soft. Near that field, Nonach was Baruba, even though majority has not been concussed, we should answer. Perhaps because of the softness of the membrane, Nikva Kshnech became pierced when it became concussed. And the bracket says, Chemash Pri Chodesh. I think the Pri Chodesh is saying, Yesh Misha those who say the Gam over mind Dafka Ruba. To a short says also by the waterfall, it's got to be the majority. If the much Kasafnu, or Arukh disagrees, he says it's even the minority. The bracket says, Dash at Tvua Shor Be'emsa Sivkon Ches Shila Nechbasa have a trephus that Atzal Ne'akrum. The Tvua Shor says that Nechbasa, this concussion, is a trephus unto itself, not an account of the membrane. Now, like I said previously, Kedas. Like the Noid Yehuda, it was a long brackets. Maybe right, bringing evidence in Mashkos, Taisus, ways per Gimel, the massive Ahmad, Lachain, Lopark, Mikison, Gakos. That's one question from Paras being missing. Nation Zel, Mimne, Mea Krum, Kvarton, and Mishnah, because that's an account of the membrane. The Ray says in Mishnah, Israel, Chavisu, Mimne, Krum, Maika, Parsham, Lichshava. If you're going to say that Chavisa is on account of the membrane, why should it be mentioned? It's says trephus in of itself, a form of breakage, it's not broken. The Arukh should stay on for sure. The Arukh HaShulchan, for sure. Kiveger, Noid Yehuda. Lotagrim Neish. Ain't Zaraya. It's not proof. The talking about concussion specifically, but because the Shem Shmaitza. Asking Jeff a question about the 7 types of trophies. Name of Bemis. Kushal made a question on the other ones. Afik Shev, Ayel Shev, Lukasha. Conclusion says take out 7 and put in 7. It's not difficult. As far as the taste of Bechisoran. The conclusion of. I'm not sure there's tesis, yeah. The chisaron of the hu imu krum elyon ein sham zel parach. Again, we're not going to stand. So see inside. Have a chavisa the trevis of beloshum kru the trefa which was the chavisa which has no membrane issue at the time. Parashapi it should be enumerated abi shikar time mishlu suffolk even though eventually it's the reason is really because of membrane later on. Viduk, okay, whatever that means. Hey, VH's topic, back to the Trefa's necklace of goes. Well, we can raise the question. This Trefa, when necklace goes, Yidavka necklace kos. It was simply where it's been concussed by being beaten. Ava benechlace choli, but it became concussed by a sickness. Choli rofu chelke rovagos, such that by some sickness it became softened. Most of the parts of the skull, like they see by Harris, or by some other reason, perhaps in a trefa, it's not a trefa in the chiluk, or there's no distinction. Avenir divided kenu. It seems that there's no distinction. Of course, now we said that the tavis caused the eventual puncture of the membrane. Came in necklace or made the siba. What's its concussed for whatever reason? No matter reason is eventually the membrane's going to get broken, pierced. I feel survey punctured. I feel serving the chamber side out, even those old, like the Navy Yehuda, the Tova Shor, and the Kivager, at the Trefus and unto itself. They're going to get satisfied. Ain't chiluk. Seems logically there's no distinction. The in Trefa, it's Trefa no matter what. That's it.